Hello, my name is Brent McCune, and I will be moderating the question and answer session this afternoon. On behalf of today's sponsor, the Olathe Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank the participants for agreeing to be here today and to promote the Olathe effort, which is focused on educating Chamber members and the business communities about what will be discussed this upcoming session in Topeka. The format for this video session will include a 1-minute opening statement by the candidates, followed by a question and answer period. Candidates will be asked prepared questions on business-related topics, and candidates do not have any prior knowledge of specific questions. They will also be asked to limit their responses to 2 minutes, and the session will conclude with a 1-minute closing statement. I'd like to introduce Mr. Keith Mace. He is running against Representative Scott Schwab in House District number 23. I now would like to ask our candidate for a 1-minute opening statement. And if you would, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what distinguishes you between you and your opponent.
Okay. My name is Keith Mace. I moved here about 25 years ago. I was working for federal government as a telecommunications manager. I chose to live in Olathe because of the great schools. And so the schools are important to me. I raised 4 children here, 2 boys, 2 girls, all went through the Olathe public school system. And so that's why I got involved with the process. Is the incumbent has been voting to defund state aid to education, in my opinion anyway. And I think education has been cut enough. I believe that education is the most important thing, that we need to be providing opportunities for small businesses and employees and the unemployed, and everybody should be paying their fair share.
So let's begin with our question and answer session. I'd first like to start off talking about budget situations in Kansas. For the past several years, the legislature has faced difficult budgeting choices, and for now our economic future remains uncertain. If Kansas were to face another significant revenue shortfall, how would you support balancing the budget? And if you could, be specific as you can. For example, if you support prioritizing services, what are your priorities and what would you cut?
Well, again, I believe that education is our fundamental responsibility at the state level, and that has priority. That I think most of the people in Kansas understand the importance of education, and they're willing to pay for a good education to get our kids a good start. 2 years ago we took on a 1% sales tax as a temporary measure. Right now we're looking at making that as a permanent sales tax to fund tax cuts to the wealthy. I think we need to roll back some of those tax cuts to the people that can afford them.
And if you're proposing to eliminate inefficiencies and waste in state government, how do you expect to find that savings?
As far as inefficiencies at the state level, I haven't been that closely involved to see where the opportunities are. Education is 60% of the budget. I think any organization can do things more efficiently, deliver more money to the classroom while reducing overhead items and doing some consolidation of support functions. That's where I think there's probably going to be some opportunities.
Our second question has to deal with education. And as you know, quality public education has been the cornerstone of Johnson County and their economic prosperity. What are your views on the current state of K-12 education funding in Kansas, and how should the legislature proceed on this issue?
I've already said I think education has been cut too much already. I think that it's a tribute to our teachers that our education system continues to be a great funding or a great asset to our community, but people can't go on nothing for very long. Again, I think it's been heroic the way our teachers have kept the quality up, but I think we're going to see a serious decline if we don't reestablish funding levels and go back to the court-mandated funding levels for education.
Would you support a private voucher system in Kansas?
At this time, I don't think we can afford vouchers. I think vouchers have some value in some situations, but until we get back to fully funding education, I don't see that we can afford them.
Our third question, we'd like to ask you, what are your views on the current state tax policy?
I think the current state tax policy is a disaster. The PTA says that schools under the current tax plan are going to experience 4 times the cuts that we've experienced to date, and that we're going to see significant increases in our property taxes and local tax levels. So I think the current tax proposal that was controversially passed at the end of the term, you had a full year to pass it, and they passed it in the last, in the dark of the night, basically. So I have nothing good to say about the current tax policy.
Another important topic in recent legislative sessions has been illegal immigration. How do you believe Kansas should proceed, if at all?
Well, as far as small businesses, I don't think it's fair for you as a business to be competing with somebody that's paying undocumented workers less. So we need to make sure that small businesses all are playing by the same rules, and that we all, that everybody's getting a fair wage, and that businesses are competing equally. So we need to make sure that the immigration laws are enforced, and if we can help with that at the state level, then as a way of promoting small business, I see that is where immigration fits in.
And now our final question. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the federal health care reform law that requires states to either implement their own state exchange for selling health insurance or be required to use the federal exchange. Do you support the passage of a state exchange in Kansas?
I support the state insurance exchange idea. I participated in something very similar as a federal employee. So everybody had a choice of picking what kind of insurance plan you want, and it's that part of the act is modeled after the plan that I was on as a federal employee. So I think it's good for everybody. It gives everybody a good choice of insurance options, and you can pick what coverage you want and what you want to pay for it. So I believe it's a good thing. I think it's a mistake that we've drug our feet on implementing it.
That concludes our question and answer session. I'd now like to ask the candidate, if they would, to take 1 minute as a closing statement.
Okay. Again, my priority is education. I think we need to, again, increase funding to education. I think there may be some efficiencies that can be found in our educational system, but we need to fund it first and then fix it second. We need to be doing more to help our small businesses and to help people that are unemployed and underemployed find work, including some job training programs. We need to get everybody to pay their fair share, including large corporations that have record amounts of cash on hand these days. My opponent is, clear to the right of everything. He's been voting consistently the Tea Party agenda. I'm moderate, fiscally conservative, but moderate on most other issues. And I really would appreciate your vote. Thank you.